NeonicVoid Productions presents.
Ooh.
Fine, I'll do it.
I was going to say, like, Zio, have you considered volunteering yourself for
Yeah, nobody wants that.
Oh! The boldness, the nerve.
It wasn't like a, how about you take a seat? We're about to serve. It was like, why don't you try it for once?
Oh! Hi, welcome to Spookocalypse, where I'm feeling very attacked right now.
You're attacked because you don't want to introduce your own podcast?
The nerve, the gall, the gumption. Hello, it's your boy Zio. Contemplating canceling and firing everybody. I'm kidding. I would never. Hi, welcome to Spookocalypse. I am joined with fellow creeps and freaks, question mark. Who are you people?
Hi, I'm Mad Chairman, and I'm matching the motivation of our introduction person, so...
Wow. Wow.
And
Wow.
I'm Bunyip, and I swear one of these days I'll, like, introduce people for them.
Wow.
Like, I'll do, like, a really fast intro.
Wow. You know... God. Who's left? Like, you know, who the fuck is left? Like, I'm so... Wow, I feel very attacked.
And I'm the housekeeper. You know, and I'm in charge of social media and, you know, housekeeping and all that good shit. I clean up the mess that everybody else has left.
Oh.
Like there is a lot.
Excuse. Okay, I know we ain't doing this. Did everyone message each other today? I'm like, let's give Zio the most hardest time. Let's attack him. Oh my god.
I wasn't even attacking you.
Let's drag him through the dirt.
I mean, I wasn't even attacking you, but I mean, if you feel that way, that's on you.
Fired. We're looking for new staff. We're hiring.
Okay, bye.
No! I can't do the housekeeping. What do you not understand? If I do the housekeeping...
You've seen that in action before.
Yes! And they'll scare them away. It'd be scarier than this game we're talking about today.
Okay. So, if you like this podcast, make sure you follow and rate us on whatever site you listen to your podcast. Share with your friends. New episodes get uploaded every Saturday. Links are down in the description for other podcasts that are part of the Neonic family. Follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @Spookocalypse. That's @SPOOK. I forgot how to spell for a second. OCALYPSE. I'm going to repeat that. That's SPOOKOCALYPSE. We do spooky shit, and mints are on the pillow.
And what's today's flavored mint?
Today's flavor of
formaldehyde.
Formaldehyde.
Ew. I mean, accurate.
Put, like, a chart for who comes up with what kinds of flavors. Because I swear, one of you comes up with, like, legit flavors. One of you comes up with death. And I think I come up with concepts like, I was going to say apologies.
You know, I've done concepts too, though. Like, you're just like, you know, those like ones that are like in your grandma's purse, you know? Like she just offers it to you. It's like partly unwrapped. There's like lint on it. Like is that kind of mint today. I think I've done that before.
Still good. And you're like, yeah, but
you're like, thanks, Grandma. You kind of like rinse it off in the sink.
Yes.
Yes.
I was going somewhere with that. I heard a noise and I'm like, hello.
Uh-oh. The mimic's there.
Shut the fuck up. Don't do that. Don't curse me like that.
He's there.
I'm not about to die today.
He's
That
watching
evil
you.
on me.
That evil shit on me. The fuck? I am too pretty to die.
Nah, he's just there to mess with you, man. Speaking of the mimic, in today's show, we're going to be talking about the Mortuary's Assistant.
We're cutting up bodies today. Buckle up.
And not, we are going to be exploring the story and some of the themes that have
Ooh.
the lore
Yeah.
of this game. And it was my choice because I like playing video games. I like playing spooky video games.
Wow, Bunyip. Housekeeper's coming for your gig. You're going to take that?
Well, I mean, if they want to talk about a game that they're passionate about, then I'm not going to stop them.
Wow. See, this is
But
why
But if we
Bunyip's
ever
the
talk
most...
about a game that I like, is like, I'd like for you to chime in, but not take over.
Ooh. Ooh.
But for
I'm about to
Mortuary
say,
Assistant, that's
look
fine.
who
Oh
be-
no, I'm not taking Bunyip's place. It's just like I really love playing.
No, I'm
horror
just over here stirring the fucking pot.
Don't do
'Cause-
that.
Because Bunyip over here is the most wholesome host we have in Neonic Void compared to my chaotic ass.
Yeah, but don't don't make him get angry at me. I don't like conflict. I don't do well with that.
Well, you all know I am joking.
Yeah, Zio.
Y'all
shut
are
up.
literally just roasting my ass, dragging me through the dirt.
I mean, you could be like that goddess that we roasted on.
I
Oh,
was
boy,
the
Donica.
DM for that. You
I
fucking degenerate. Ah.
Poor Nick.
No, we all fucking just like
Well, she's dead.
roasted her ass.
Well, she's dead.
Yeah, because we toasted her ass.
He destroyed the night.
God. Toast of the night. Oh, God.
Eternal day.
Ew. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about the game itself. I should probably have those notes open. Did I? No. Am I pulling them up right now? Whale shit. Okay. So this game was released August 2nd, 2022, but the demo for it released way
In October of
earlier. Yeah, back in 2021,
Yeah.
October. The developer is Darkstone Digital, and it was distributed by Dread XP. It's on the Microsoft Windows and Nintendo Switch. It's on the Nintendo Switch. Hello? I did not know that. More you know.
Release it on the PlayStation. Please release it on the PlayStation.
Nah.
Please.
Nah. Nah. So, yes, this game is a horror game about cutting up bodies.
I'm not really cutting up bodies.
Well,
You're
they're-
prepping the bodies.
okay. Well, are you not cutting the bodies, sticking tubes in it, and draining the blood? Are you not?
Yeah, but you're not cutting them
Yeah.
up. You're putting
Yeah.
incisions in the
cutting-
body.
Yes.
You're cutting
Incisions
the.
and draining, but you're not severing pieces.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't saying you're severing pieces. I'm saying you're cutting into the body.
You have
Right,
to make
cutting up.
incisions into the body.
That's still cutting the body. Are you
But
not
you said
cutting?
cutting up. You said cutting up. There's a difference.
Well, it's still cutting up. It's still cutting the body. I'm not wrong. Hashtag Zio's not wrong. Thank you. Put that
There's
on Twitter.
nuances.
Hashtag Zio.
Accurate, but not often used.
Hashtag Zio has more bodies than this game does.
I
Oh!
Where are they?
don't know what you're talking about. There's no proof. No
Ooh,
proof. No proof.
I don't know. That sounds like someone that's guilty would say.
You have speculation.
That's stuttering. Stutter.
I was like,
Yeah,
speculation.
objection. Hearsay. What was the term that they use? What are they saying, Corey? I'm trying to think.
Damn. Do you really think my ass would be a serial? If I was a serial killer, I'd keep my mouth shut about it? No.
No. You'd be
And I
like,
hate the
bitch,
sight
guess
of-
what I did?
And I hate the sight of blood. I kill. I'm not gonna. Obviously, I can't do it. I'm too much of a pansy, so I can't do the sign of blood. If I cut my finger open or cut my leg open or some shit and blood's everywhere, I'm like, bleh, bleh. I broke my arm. Everything was still in the skin, and I wanted to barf. What makes you think I could kill somebody?
Weakness.
Wow, rude. Anyway, talk about the damn game. Shit.
So,
Shit.
so the Mortuary's Assistant is about this woman named Rebecca Owens, which is who you play as, and it's set in 1998. She had just managed to get an internship at a mortuary. Um, the place where she was studying and learning was taught by a man named Mr. Delver, and he managed to transfer her over to his mortuary so that she could finalize her internship for after a few weeks of working there. Um, Rebecca, like the intro scene starts with Rebecca talking to her grandmother. Um, and she mentions Dr. Delver's office is the Riverfields mortuary that's close by, and her grandmother basically voices out that she doesn't really like that there's like it's a weird place, strange stories pop up, like are going around about that mortuary, and Rebecca kind of just brushes it off. Into which, like, then her grandma hands her a necklace with a cross on it, and this necklace belonged to her father. And then it cuts to the scene where Rebecca is driving up for work. She signs some paperwork, and Mr. Delver greets Rebecca and tells her, and like basically it's like, hey, okay, let's get started. Let's see what you can do. So you go and you will this is basically like your tutorial of what you're going to be doing for the rest of the game. So he tells you to wheel a cadaver from cold storage to the prepping stage, to grab the paperwork for the cadaver, which her name is Miss Dorothy. Um, she put the body on the gurney and wheels it to the prep room. Um, she starts by you start by identifying the marks on the body, and then you start the embalming process. And during this time, a window that was open slams shut, to which Mr. Delver basically says, oh, huh, well, the windows never stay open, continue. You continue going about your embalmment by, like putting the chemicals in, putting the tubes in and everything. And then chemicals fly off the shelves. And Mr. Devil's like, oh, it's just bad storage. They fall off all the time. And he tells you to continue. So then whenever you're filling out the computer, because you have to fill out like, oh, the marks on the body, and you put it in this paperwork and you print it out. During that time, you hear voices whispering in your ear saying like, you're gonna die here. And she's like, oh, what was that? And like,
Me.
oh, who's that?
Be hilarious. The voice like repeated itself. It was like, oh, you're going to die here. Oh, okay. Wait a minute, what? And then it's just
Huh?
like, oh, I didn't say anything.
Huh? What?
Me.
Huh?
Hello. Can I get that in writing?
So then you go about, continuing the process, and as you're doing that, you start to see like figures out of the corner of your eye, or as you're walking around the room, like you'll see something pass by the doorway, ooh, spooky ooky shit. Um, um, and just a regular day at the mortuary, no big deal. And as she's finishing up, I think it's during the like you have to like wipe this moisturizer like pad over the face. Like her Miss Dorothy's face starts to decay. And it's a hallucination. She was hallucinating, and Mr. Delver kind of like snaps Rebecca out of it and tells her like, you know what, you can take off the rest of the day. I'll finish up here. And Rebecca kind of leaves and goes home later, and then it cuts to another scene where Rebecca's in her home, and she's talking to her friend, and she's like kind of worried because like weird because of like the weird things that were happening at the mortuary and the fact that Mr. Delva sent her home early, and she was worried that it might have ruined her chances at finalizing her internship. Um, but in the middle of this call, Mr. Delver calls her and explains that he's not feeling too good, that that he needs her to come in. There's three fresh cadavers delivered, and he needs her to get them ready to embalm them. And she's like, okay, cool, I'll go. And she's excited to leave and work at the mortuary. Whenever she arrives there, it's raining heavily, thunder's blowing in the wind, it's all creepy, spooky. And whenever she enters the mortuary, the door slams shut behind her. And whenever you look back, you see a creepy figure in a raincoat. And they put their phone to their ear, and the office phone rings. Um, whenever she answers the phone, it happens to be Mr. Delver. And he tells her that he has locked her in the mortuary.
Rude.
And I'm like, this is very unprofessional.
That's a little sus.
I'm like, this is weird.
That's weird.
That's suspicious. And he tells her, like, hey, I know what happened earlier. I don't really I didn't realize until it made itself known, but yeah, you're possessed by a demon, and like the possession has already started, and I have locked the door, and you're not allowed to leave um until you discover, like, get rid of the demon that's possessing you, basically. um he tells her that he's done this before,
Mhm.
and like and
Don't
like
trust the phones.
yeah, don't trust the phones. I've left the process like of how to do things. There's tapes that you can follow.
Mhm.
um like, you don't have a lot of time. I keep track of like how, like, where your mind's at, all that kind of stuff. And that, like, I have equip like that cabinet that's in there. There's special equipment that you need to use in order to determine which body has the demon inside of it, and that you must burn the right body, in order to um get rid of it, basically.
Banish it
Yeah.
to hell.
Banish it to hell. So you get started. This is where the game officially starts. You get started, you take out the first cadaver out of the cold storage. Um it's weird because like weird things start to happen. This is your first night.
Mhm.
um you start checking, like identifying for like weird marks, if there's scratches, beauty marks, rashes, all kinds of good shit. And like the lights start flickering. um as you move around, you turn back, and you see the cadaver sitting straight up in the gurney, kind of staring at her, and then the lights come back on, and everything's back to normal again. And very understandably, Rebecca is kind of like, nope, I'm not dealing with this shit, and like kind of like she like leaves. She gets out of the building. Um of course, this is entirely optional. Like, you don't have to leave the building, but if you do try to leave and you get in the car, Rebecca feels this strong, like, she voices this in the game, that she feels a strong urge to stay and finish the work. Um, and try and free herself from this possession. She looks up and she sees like a figure in the doorway, and she goes back inside and starts embalming the bodies.
Dumb mistake.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's either she gets possessed at home or she gets possessed at this building, you know?
I guess true.
Yeah, that kind of tripped me up a little bit because it was like, if you leave, does that make the possession of the demon like weaker? Is that why that was compelling her to stay, or is that something else?
Well, like her choosing to stay, I will explain that a little bit more later, but I can tell you now that it was the demon trying to make her stay.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, as she's embalming, more and more weird things start to happen. You start to see like multiple different entities in the mortuary. Um, there's three figures in particular that you see in the mortuary. And while you're embalming, like Mr. Delva, blah blah blah, Mr. Delver left some handy dandy cassette tapes, like he told you,
Hmm.
and he tells you like, hey, there's like these letting strips with excerpts from scripture. Whenever something weird is happening or you see like one of these figures, use one of these, and whenever it starts to flame up, that means that you're close to a sigil. And if it bursts into flame in your hands, that means that you have found the sigil. Um, you need to find four of these sigils to learn exactly what the demon's name is. Um, and this will also help you determine what body it's chosen as its vessel.
Yeah.
And whenever you find out this body, there is a clay disc, and you have to have the four sigils in that disc in the proper order, and you place it on the body and you burn it.
Yep.
um
Period.
yeah, it binds the demon to the body. And um whenever you choose the body and you put it in the furnace, um there's an explosion that happens, and you see like a, I'm assuming a demon, to crawl out. It starts to crawl out and goes towards Rebecca, only to be dragged back in. And you promptly, or Rebecca promptly passes out. Now, two things can happen. Either you chose the wrong body, um, or and everything seems to be fine at first, and Rebecca starts speaking to Mr. Dover, and he realized really quickly that like Rebecca has been possessed. And the conclusion to this conversation is basically Mr. Delver getting folded up like a secret note in class. He
Ooh,
just gets kind of just like crumpled up and like thrown across the room basically. Um and this is only for the first night. For this but if you choose the correct body, which is technically the good ending, um like, yay, mission accomplished, you banished the demon. But Mr. Dover tells her like there's always going to be a chance that this can
Yeah.
happen again. Like once a demon attaches yourself to you, there's going to be more demons that are going to try and attach themselves to you. So this is going to be an ongoing battle, and that Mr. and like he has spent years learning how to keep the entities at bay, and like she just needs to continue to return.
I mean, like, y'all bitches are rude.
Yeah. And so then like Rebecca goes like, what is this, some kind of holy war or something against demonic forces? And he kind of goes like, no, not really, because you're technically the first person to ever face these and survive. And
Ooh,
like at this point you're like, how many people have gone through this fucking issue with this man, you know? And he asks you or Rebecca, whichever one you want to view it as, to work the night shift and take over from for him. And he basically offers a different kind of job, which is like helping him banish these evil entities. And he tells Rebecca that the demonic forces use the worst parts against you. Um like the worst parts of you against you, and so like you have to see the truth. um and you'll learn throughout like different run throughs that Rebecca is a very troubled woman. um and like the more she experiences these demonic forces, like you'll have to confront the deepest darkest parts of her life. um there is unofficial ending called game over, which is where if you take too long to identify the demon and its chosen body, you do become possessed, and you end up in the basement in a coffin that's by Mr. Delver, or Raymond is what his first name is. And Rebecca like laughs like maniacally. Um and like Mr. Delver basically tells her like you can't fix it. You failed in you what you did. You tried to like and he just basically locks you up. Now, your next shift, the very next, like your second shift, you go to the mortuary pretty much as follows. Same pattern. You see creepy stuff, but this time the phone rings, and it's someone from her past. And um, I don't remember exactly what it says, but like she kind of just hangs up. You see a creepy woman in a dirty white dress. You know, the woman in white, standing staring at her, who then disappears. Um, More paranormal activity starts to take place as Rebecca embalms the cadavers, and you're about to see exactly what Mr. Delver meant by having to confront the darkest parts of herself.
Hmm.
Um cuz there's times where you get transported to a different place. There's a time where you get sent to like a rundown apartment with with like drugs in it. Like you go in and like it's literally like this like tiny ass like studio apartment, and there's drug paraphernalia and tagging all over her walls. It's a bad apartment, and like the phone rings and these guys are inviting her down to party, and she grabs her stash, and as soon as she grabs her stash, the apartment starts flooding, and a body floats up and says, "You did this to me and it's all your fault." And then the body switches to the creepy woman in white that and like goes after her, and then it switches back to the mortuary again. um and then it's either the same cadaver that you're working on or a different cadaver. In the middle of the embalming process, their arm cracks due to like it gets up and like cracks due to like rigor mortis, and then turns its hand down the hallway that like where the cold storage is. And you go down this hallway, and like the creepy woman is there, and you go towards her, and she's trapped you in this hallway. And you turn around, and Lord, I swear, like my stomach like fell out of my ass. I was so fucking terrified, because you see this creepy freaking entity. Like this thing is like it's all white, and it's like weird and lumpy, and it has like big black eyes and a big smiling face, and you will see him like out of
A lot.
yeah, you will see him a lot. And like honestly, I like finding like where he is. I look forward to seeing him in the gameplay more than the woman in white and the black figure, because like he's always doing some kind of shit. He's like the most extra out of all of them. Like there's a time where you'll be working on the computer, and you could see over the computer, like the camera zooms in like as if you're looking at the computer. So you see like above and around the computer, and you'll just see his head kind of like slowly pop up, and he's staring at you. There's times where like he's hiding in like the cabinet, like you open the cabinet and he's there. You turn around, he's like in the corner and he crawls away. Like
See, I'd be like, you doing too much.
he,
Chill out, bro.
yeah, he is. He's the extra one, and I love him for it. But the first time he shows up, like it literally scared the living shit out of me. I was like, ah! and and so and then there's like a time like, and then you go back, and then like the cadaver is gone. Um, and then like you walk down the hallway again, and then you're transported to like another place entirely, where it represents a mental hospital, and like you're walking around. You there's like a little check-in area. I think there's a little seating area, and there is a room. Trigger warning right now, so if you guys don't want to listen to this, I would say mute it until, insert time here. She walks into a room labeled high risk, and in that room there is a version of Rebecca um hanging, and she's holding her a 10-year sobriety coin, indicating her efforts to get clean.
Yeah.
And this version of Rebecca grabs her and the rope snaps, indicating at some point Rebecca attempts to
Relapse.
yeah, like her relapse. Um Whatever this time is, that's whenever the mention is over. Um while in the hospital, like she lives in this like kind of madness, and it jumps back to reality, and you work out the chosen vessel, and as usual burning the body, like the demon bangs on the thing, screams, explosion happens. um let's say that you chose the correct body. Rebecca asks Mr. Delver if all this will ever end, and he replies saying that he doesn't know. He's been doing this for a long time. He's traveled across the world to learn more about what's going on and how to deal with it to this day. He hasn't found out anything that can directly deal with the problem. So what they're doing right now is a temporary solution, and the better they know themselves, the stronger they are, and like that means that like that's less that the demons can use against them to torment them. So for now, your second shift has ended. And that's the good ending and the bad ending and the standard ending. Now, there's 5 endings technically. Um so we've already talked about that Rebecca had a troubled childhood, and as you're exploring through on your different shifts, you get to explore a little bit more about what's happening. So in the previous ending, Rebecca visited like herself in the hospital, and she had the 10-year sobriety coin in her hand, and she takes the 10-year sobriety coin, and Rebecca already has her father's 5-year sobriety coin and the necklace. So if you grab those 3 things before leaving the apartment, and you successfully do all this, there is an ending that happens, that is titled Closure. And the route through this shift gives you a little bit more of a backstory on like what like is happening with Rebecca. So during this shift in particular, you learn that Rebecca's mother was very troubled, that she had a drug problem as well. Rebecca's mother OD'd, which we're probably gonna have to bleep that out, just letting you know. And she passed away. And Rebecca started going down the similar path, and she ended up an addict, and moved to that very rundown apartment. And it looks like she was just not living well. Like I said, like there was a lot of illegal substances everywhere, and at some point would go missing, and to where her father would report her missing and found her lying on the ground in the rain, because she had taken too much. Taken too much. Um, So her father went to go get help from the police search party who was nearby, and when her father came running back, he slipped and hit the ground, like slipped on the ground, hit his head, and fell into the water bank that was right next to them, and he passed away. Which kind of forced Rebecca to sort her life out, get clean. Um, um, and she was hospitalized as a result because of her taking too much of it, and was considered a high risk. They gave her antidepressants, but while in the hospital, it seemed that like she tried to unalive herself again. So judging by that, like she thinks like there's like a note that she left that you find I think in this playthrough where it said where she blames herself for the way that her father's life ended, and she feels guilty that like she has survivor's guilt basically, like she's living while like her father's gone. While she's in the hospital, she was allowed to keep the necklace, but due to her guilt, she wasn't allowed to like look at it anymore, and she gave it to her grandmother, which is why her grandmother had it at the start of the game, and why Rebecca was kind of reluctant to take it, because she was still guilty. And then over the next 10 years, she would stay clean. Um, and she decided to go on this route to become to work in the mortuary, which her grandmother kind of feels like it's more of like a very macabre job. She's like, can't you find something else? And she's like, nah. Nah, this is for me. um so like, and these demonic forces are trying to bring all that darkness and torment Rebecca throughout these shifts that you do. There's parts in the apartment where she gets chased by the creepy woman in white. There's also a part that you play where like her father shows up on the gurney instead of the other cadavers that are there. um there's also a part where like her father's on a gurney, and she hits him with a rock, signifying that like she thinks that she's directly responsible for her father's death. In the closure ending, Rebecca has an encounter with which could be the spirit of her father, telling her that everything is all right, that she will be safe. He tells her that it's not her fault, and that like she was exposed to that life in the first place, and he tells her to go on setting souls free, letting the dead rest. And that explains like why she's like it gives her the closure that she needs, because like he talks to her. And then the next thing we need to look at is, and think this is another ending, or this is more of the lore that you find out during the game, is Raymond and how it all started in the first place. So during one of the shifts, when you approach the bathroom, like you see a woman standing against the wall crying, and then she like points to the mirror, and as you go to the mirror, there's a photograph of the mortuary. I think it's like what the heck are those like little square ones called? The square photos.
Polaroids.
Polaroid?
There we go. I was like, I know it starts with a P. Yeah, so it's a Polaroid of the mortuary, and um, there's also a safe that's in the mortuary. Like if you explore around, and if after you like figure out the code, there's a key inside this safe. And you explore around the mortuary, there's a hatch outside, which leads to the basement. And this basement is like you go down there and you see like this is where Raymond's been like basically making all of this stuff for like the exorcisms, I want to call them. So like the letting strips are there, the marks are there, the little the sigils are there for the marks. And so he obviously knows a lot about this process, and he's familiar with it because that's why he sent Rebecca home. And so like he knew enough to realize that the demon had like basically tied itself to her. And so like this basement is like like it's, if you love lore and you're very nosy about that kind of stuff in games, this is the best place for you in this game, because this gives you information regarding Raymond and like kind of his shady background. There's a diary which goes back to like 1984. There's it starts off like May 29th, 1984, where he witnessed one of his staff, David, um or and like his demeanor had changed, and Raymond talks about how he has become more irritable. Like the moment like a body was brought into the mortuary, that David went home sick, and then he came back to work later stating that like he felt like he had to come back, like there was a sort of compulsion to come back, which is the same compulsion that Rebecca had in her car. Raymond gave David a camcorder and told him to record anything unusual. Now, if you go back to the computer, um, there is the recording of what happened on the camcorder, and it's David, and he's like, "Yeah, it's weird. Like this feels insane, Raymond. But you're right. It's happened a few times now. Let me see if I could like show you." And he films the feet of all places. He films the feet, and they kind of like jerk, and they twitch, and like that's where the film ends. And um you go back to the diary, April 3rd, 1985. There's Andrea. Oh no, I'm sorry. James in August 10th, 1985. Andrea, November 16th, 1987. Angela. But then we find on the same date of November 16th that he talks about someone called Maria. And he had to leave her to keep her safe. And then over a year later, Raymond finds this journal again and writes that he had to that he stopped his life to take care of her. And like the final page of the journal states that it's not fair to blame her. And he's guessing that like I guess that Maria, like she died at some point and she was possessed. And one particular journal entry, Raymond's diary from 9 years prior, March 29th, 1989, he took a trip to Egypt. He met a man, and the trip lasted just over a month, and it made Raymond broke. And he spent all his money on this trip. He thought it was worth it due to like all the information that he gained, which changed a lot about what he believed. And he was hopeful in finding a way to solve whatever is happening. But then around 8 months later, he expresses his anger at the fact that he was like no closer to finding a way to stop it. He mentions a woman named Valerie, and that like she doesn't deserve this. Raymond states that none of them did, but after like a quick walk to the adjoining room, Rebecca finds out exactly what it is. So you go to this next room that's in the basement, and Raymond has been keeping a woman inside a coffin, except like there's an arm sticking out and like bolted to this like thing, and the coffin is padlocked so you can't get out. And you find out that it's Valerie. And she starts taunting you. Like if you like there's like a little like viewing box, like you can open it, and she starts taunting you, and she's like, "Oh, so you're Rebecca," and like basically talking shit. And um Valerie clearly wanted Rebecca to find her and to free her. But then like you start to see like the demonic presence that's inside of her. She starts threatening Rebecca. Um and everything. And in the diary, you find out that after a month of imprisoning Valerie, um, Raymond mentions that it's been like 30 years, which indicates that like this has been going on since 1960, and he would have been around 16 years old whenever he first encountered this. Um, he finds out that the blood that Valerie has is like the perfect thing to try and draw out the demon in the bodies. So he starts draining these bodies. Um so it has been clear that Raymond hasn't really been forthcoming about like what he's actually doing like with the embalmment process, because like what you do is like you drain it from Valerie, and then whenever you're embalming it you add like the formaldehyde, there's like another chemical, and then this reagent, that's what they call it, it's just like a reagent, and he uses it as a conduit. Um, and like he came up with like this thing, and there's like audio cassettes in the basement that he uses saying that like, oh, like he has been possessed. And so I'm assuming like the thing got backfired. And so he's been sacrificing other people to prevent himself from fully getting possessed by the entity. He expressed his guilt at the lives lost, but there's only one loose end, and that's Valerie. And he doesn't know what to do with her. But she does serve a purpose with her blood, and his at the end of the day, his motive is just to stop the entity from ever getting out of the mortuary. And in Raymond's eyes, if that meant other people were being used as pawns to help him, then so be it. And that's like that's all of the story. That's everything that you can explore. You could explore this in different um different shifts. There are a few entities like I mentioned before. Like there is the woman in white, there is the black figure, and there is what I mentioned earlier, which is the mimic. Now, in the computer, there is like a demon. I'm just gonna say like it's like an encyclopedia. Like there's three different
Database.
houses. There's like four different demons in each house, but
Mhm.
and it voices and it explains to you that like, hey, these things aren't powerful enough to do this on their own, so they use other spirits. Basically, excuse me, they use other spirits to kind of like weaken you so that they can possess you. The first one being the woman in white. Now, the woman in white um comes from the I'm trying to figure out where what it is. Comes from the House of Desolation. She is used to harm the living. She's limited on power and dissipates quickly. Um, and desolation, the House of Desolation is defined as like the state of complete emptiness or destruction. And this is why the woman in white seems to taunt Rebecca within like the dark areas of her old life and the emptiness that came with it. The second entity is the Shadow Man, which comes from the House of Immolation. He's considered like a spy. Immolation is defined like to kill or offer as a sacrifice, which like you could tie that back to Raymond, I guess, and now Rebecca, because you know they're killing. Well, they're not already dead, but they're sacrificing these bodies to get rid of the demon. And then there's the mimic, which like, like, he's my favorite, but he's fucking creepy.
Fuck that guy.
He comes. I don't know how to pronounce this word. Invidiousness.
Invidiousness? That kind of sounds like the
Invidiousness.
Latin word for envy.
Yes, yes, because he comes from that house, and he's aimed to look as much like humans as possible. Its true form is not known because of its disguise, but apparently it's the embodiment of the devil's envy of humanity. And so, like, it's defined as an action likely to arouse or incur resentment or anger in others. So, like it could be that like it's a manifestation of like Raymond like pissed that a lot of people during his years or other spirits like form these like because you know he has to do this for the rest of his life, you know.
Hmm.
And that's like that's one theory. Or it could be that like Rebecca's envious of other things because he shows himself to her a lot, like a lot. She, he shows up more than everybody else, and like we said, like he's the extra one. But I love him. He's one of my favorites. But that's it. That's all the lore for the game, really.
Ooh.
And you can get rid of all the like if you continue doing it, there's chances of you getting the same demon over and over again. There is like one demon, I don't know which one it is, but he's very rare to get whenever like you're getting rid of him.
Hmm.
But you're gonna the more shifts that you do is just gonna kind of be repetitive in the process, you know. So, but yeah, that's it. That's the Mortuary's Assistant.
Applause.
Kind of like what's it called? It's not very a grander ending, but neither is like the Mortuary's Assistant. Like it's kind of like like anytime you end a a night, it's kind of like it leaves you wanting more, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
We love. We love.
I hope that they do more. I hope they do more. That they had a Christmas update, which was really great because one of the bodies was Santa. That was so fantastic. I loved it so much. I was like, oh my god, it's Santa Claus. I think at one point, like Santa was a body that you had to burn, and like it was very rare, but because like usually it would be one of the other two cadavers, but like there was like one time where Santa was the body, and I thought it was hilarious. I was like, not Santa.
Mm-mm-mm.
Burn him like a Yuletide log.
Stop.
Oh no. Not the Yuletide log.
I do have a question though. Like these bodies were sent to this mortuary to get embalmed for viewing or whatever, right? Like
Mhm, mhm.
what about the ones that you burn? Like how would you explain that to the families?
Oops.
Oopsies.
They fell in.
Oh, they just walked on in. They're like, me buried in the ground. Couldn't be me. And just jumped into the furnace.
Like imagine if this guy basically just went, "Oh yeah, so like this body was possessed by a demon, so we had to burn it."
GG.
What?
Like it meant like it. I think so. There, I don't know if it's the same voice actor, but the guy who plays Mister Raymond, he sounds like the guy from Archive 81.
Mhm.
Not the show, the podcast. Like it sounds like the boss. I forgot what his name
Mhm.
is. But I was like,
Hmm.
is that can't be because his voice just it's a very unique voice and I've heard it before and I was like, what the hell? That can't be. You know what? I'm gonna look it up right now. I'm gonna look it up right now.
Ramyao.
Right now. Archive 81 podcast.
So on that note, um, what did everyone think of this game? What does everyone thought? Everyone's thoughts.
I thought it was really fun. Uh, I love the fact that you got to just play with dead bodies. um, no, but it was fun like watching the process and then like having little things happen here and there that sometimes you will notice, sometimes you won't notice. Uh, I love honestly my favorite like entity to show up is the shadow one because you could literally walk in a room, it's standing in a corner, but because it's a shadow you can't tell unless you see the red eyes. So yeah, that was a fun little mechanic that I thought was hilarious. Um, yeah, that was a lot of fun.
But yep.
Um, I guess I was kind of hoping for more being a mortician simulator.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I finally remember the demo that came out for it. It was just like, this is the premise and here's how it's working. And then it just gets worse, or at least more terrifying. I
Yeah.
think it does a pretty good balance of letting you be the mortician, but also taking care of demons. Because your main goal is, of course, getting rid of the demons. And don't ask me about symbolism because I don't know. But I will say that the mimic kind of weirdly reminds me of the ice cream guy from the baby's ice cream commercial. Just covered in all of that ice cream, and he's just constantly staring at you with those wide eyes and unblinking stare.
Uh, My word.
See that?
I mean, there's like some.
Somewhat.
There's some symbolism, but uh, sorry, I'm trying to.
Multitask.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Yeah,
multitask.
the whole character development of learning about your own character is kind of fun too. Like the way they did it with what was it, the haunted grandma that kept on showing up and like knocking at the windows, like, please open up the window.
Oh
Like,
my god, that freaking
No. Stranger danger, Grandma. Stranger danger.
Have the transcripts.
The creative ways the
and then,
game uses to mess with you.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
God. I want
So,
a horror movie based around this idea.
so the voice actor for Mr. Davenport from Archive 81 was David Powell, but I'm not like I click on the link and it sends me to a dead Twitter profile. So,
What was the name of the guy in the mortuary assistant?
his name is Raymond Davenport. Oh, not Davenport.
Raymond Delver.
Dev,
He
De-
was
Dev
voiced by Adam Bennett.
Adam Bennett. Okay, because I was like, they sound the same.
Also known for voice work in Warframe, Sim Settlements, Fallout New Vegas,
Adam
Brave
what?
New World. Adam Bennett.
Adam
Not very many games,
Bennett.
honestly.
Huh. Adam.
Hmm.
Adam Bennett, the 10, 25, 6, 27th, apparently. Because he has Roman numerals behind his name.
The
What the
20,
fuck?
the 27th.
The 27th.
Yeah,
Hello.
XXVII. That's 27, right?
Oh.
that's so many. That's so many.
But for me personally, I find the idea rather interesting about the story of this game. And I would love to see like a movie based around, not necessarily about this game, but like the idea of it. Granted, there are a few movies that take place in a setting like this. The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which is a really fucking fabulous movie if you have not watched it. I do not know if we talked about it on the pod. I don't think so. I'm adding that movie to the list right now. I don't think we talked about the Autopsy of Jane Doe, but we need to.
Oh my gosh, that movie.
I love it. There's also the Haunting of Hannah Grace. Possession of Hannah Grace.
No, don't.
The Possession of Hannah Grace was a okay movie. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't terrible. I want more of that. But again, that probably be another movie that we talk about someday. But that took place in the same idea as well, I think. Yes. Takes place in a morgue or a police department morgue, something like that. Yeah. So it takes place in a good chunk in the same setting as well. I want to see more movies based in the setting, because the setting is an interesting place to have a horror film.
Mm-hmm.
The person's already dead, and you're just they're figuring out what's going on and stuff. But the Autopsy of Jane Doe is probably the best movie in this type of setting currently, because it's just so good. Add that to the list. Rating systems. 1 out of 5 scalpels.
That works.
I guess I'll go first. I'll rate this game a solid 3.5 out of scalpels. 3.5 scalpels out of 5.
Okay.
Solid game. I think a good starting point. It did have a lot, but I want more. I want more. Give me more. Make a sequel.
Make a sequel.
Make a sequel. Talk about one of the other cases because she's the first one that survived. Show one that didn't.
Yes. I want to explore like all the other ones. I want to explore the chick that's in the freaking basement.
Exactly. What happened to her? How she
Like-
get possessed?
Like you play as Raymond.
Yeah. Show that. Or show one that failed. Or make a big game where you're traveling through it, traveling through the timeline with different ones, and you're experiencing different people that you're playing as different people who end up getting possessed for one reason or another. I would love to see that. Or you're playing the doctor. What's his face? The head doctor. Head guy.
That's Raymond.
Raymond. Yeah, play Raymond. Yeah. I have brain fart. But yeah, play Raymond as he's hiring these new people and they all get possessed. That'd be fun.
Make it like a Five Nights at Freddy's thing where he's
Yes.
watching the cameras as the other person's trying to do the whole mortuary thing and then gets just killed on the camera.
Yes. Just start with the very first person that this happens to, and then just go down the list.
Make it a 1v1 where one is the assistant and one is the demon.
Yes.
And you get to choose which demon because I think there's 12 different demons that you could be.
Yeah. That'd be fun. Fun ideas.
That's fun.
Yeah, 3.5 out of 5 scalpels.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm along about the same lines. I love the mechanics. I love that it was a horror game that you didn't get chased. So that's my big plus for it. I don't like the feeling of being chased. So
Same.
It was little fun mechanics of being able to find stuff, which is I always love. Kind of RPG mechanics that gives you a little more control, as opposed to like kind of point and click games. But it was fun. I liked it. Yeah, so I would say 3.5 scalpels.
I will. I like. I think I think it's gonna be another 3.5. I enjoyed the game. I wish there was like for the different endings that you get that there was like a different like cut scene when you're burning the body. Like I get what you're going for, that like you have to wait until you wake up or whatever to try and find out what end scene you actually got. But I wish that there was a little bit more variety with that. But like, for an indie game, this is a fantastic game. You could tell that they put a lot of work in it, and whenever like they did like the preview of it in that October, and I was really excited for where this game was going to go, because I think you do that one body, right, and then that was it. They're like, okay, thanks for playing, like it'll be released someday. And this is like one of the few like indie games where like, hey, like we actually released the full game, and they're always doing updates to it, so I'm always looking forward to like what's new in the game. But like I'm adding on to like what Zio said about like, like let's explore a little bit more about the story. Like I love learning about that kind of stuff. Whoa, I got deja vu. Holy hell. Yeah. So I'm gonna give it a 3.5 as well, especially because like I know that the people who worked on this, they did a great job, and there's room to grow, and I look forward to seeing where this game is gonna go. Keep up the good work.
Last but not least,
Bunyan.
I'd say closer to 3 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
And mainly, I would say I don't have much to add to the game, but I've noticed a pattern with horror games where it's like, here is the dynamic of like, here's like the thing you're trying to solve, and then everything else is scares. Like in this one, it's basically you have a timer before you get possessed and lose. Like nothing else in the game can really kill you. It's just if you're out of time, you get possessed, or your other fail state is if you guess the wrong body, you lose as well. But it approached a horror game differently. Like, it was a good start, which is why I think it's 3 scalpels out of 5. And I think it could really expand more with this idea. Like, it didn't necessarily have to be like this exact same, I guess, scenario where you're a mortician working in a morgue.
Mm-hmm.
It could be any scenario where it's like, here are some things to worry about, but they aren't the real threat. The real threat is the looming time duration that gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I think more games should give that idea a try.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I also like that the jump scares aren't cheap. They're not cheap jump scares. I love that.
That's true. They're not cheap jump scares. You're right.
They were manufactured with love.
Yeah.
With love.
Yeah, it's just not like, oh, boo! Oh, you're scared.
Or
Someone just
like
screaming in your face.
startling loud noises.
Yeah, it's literally just like that
Yeah.
face that pops up behind the monitor and you're like, oh! Or like you turn around and he's just there. You're like, oh shit. So,
All right. So, what is the average score?
it's a 3.375 out of
Well-
5 scalpels.
There you are, ladies and gentlemen. This game is a solid game. Go play it. And go tell the creators to make a sequel. Or a prequel. Prequel.
Or a movie.
The
Or a,
point-
or a movie. Or a
let's say
series.
0.33 or 0.23.
It'll be 3.4 for rounding up.
Ooh.
Okay, so 3.4. Okay, one of them was left inside the body then,
Wait, do what?
which is always frightening. Like, whenever you're having surgery and then they just leave a scalpel inside the body, like, whoops.
Ooh.
That's
Oh,
why she
shit.
has multiple scalpels in that room.
you
Oh
have a-
no.
That's why you have a
God.
checklist.
That's a nightmare. Oh. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen. Go play the game. Go watch playthroughs of Markiplier. He does a fabulous playthrough.
Yes, there's
Of the
also
game.
there's another guy too. Let me find him because I really enjoy his playthroughs. Gosh, what's his name? Insym, INSYM.
Yes.
Yes, he's the one who he loves this game so much. He's unlocked all the demons. He played a lot of the Christmas update. He's really good at it.
Yes. See. So go look them up. Go watch the game. Go play the game. Go immerse in it. So, on that note, thank you guys for listening to today's episode. Catch us next time. I talk about something else that's ooky, spooky, and kooky. Until then, bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.